In this lesson, we're going to bring in our high poly mesh from ZBrush and bring it into 3ds Max. Alright, so in ZBrush we have our handle all finished here. We're ready to go. And so now what I want to do is I want to bring that into 3ds Max. Now before we can do that, we have to reduce the amount of polygons that we have on this object. Otherwise we won't be able to work inside of 3ds Max trying to bake out this information. So to do this, we'll go up to Z plugin, and we're going to use Decimation Master. And normally what I like to do is I like to go ahead and just pre-process the current, meaning whatever's what we have in our scene, or you could do pre-process all if you have multiple pieces in your scene. So once that has finished there, it shouldn't take too long. Then you can go to your Z plugin, and then you'll want to go ahead and decimate it. So 20%, oops, accidentally disappeared on me. 20% is going to be a pretty good value for us. You can try out there. If you need to go lower, you can go ahead and go to about 15, and then maybe down to 10. But you might lose a lot of like this fine detail in there. So 20% is going to be pretty good for us. So then we'll just say decimate current, and then we'll wait for that to finish up there. Let me make sure that I clicked on that there. Alright, so once that has been decimated, let's hit Shift F. And I think I may have decimated that twice, but that's okay. So you can see that it's still pretty dense in a lot of the areas here, but we need a lot of that fine detail. And so hit Shift F again, and you can see that we still have a lot of that there, and it still looks good. So now what we can do is go ahead and just bring that into 3ds Max. So to do this, we'll go ahead and we'll export this. So we'll say export, and we're going to go to our project files, and I'm going to put it right inside of that 3ds Max files folder again, just to keep everything the same. So it's under export. Let's call this HP underscore handle underscore detailed. So that way we know that we've worked on it inside of ZBrush. And then if we ever need to come back, let's say that we forgot something on the original model, we can just take that OBJ and bring that back into 3ds Max. Alright, so we'll save that. Okay. And then once that's finished, we'll go into 3ds Max. And let's bring that in. So at this point, we have this model, and we have it exported out as an OBJ. We can go ahead and actually delete this out of the scene if we really wanted to. But if you're uncomfortable with that, you can go ahead and just hide it. I would suggest deleting it out. Go ahead and create a save file for this one. And actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and create a save file for this one as well. So let's do File, Save As. And seeing how we're in lesson 28 here, let's go ahead and put that in. So we'll save that. And then at any time you can come back and you can get this file again. Okay, so I'm going to delete both of those. Now let's go ahead and import. So we'll do File and Import. And then we're going to just go up one, and we'll go to our export folder, and there's our handle detailed.obj. Go ahead and open that, and we're going to continue using the preset for ZBrush because now it's saying, alright, this is being imported from ZBrush. And so now everything should be set. We'll just simply hit import. It's going to bring that in. Now you may notice that your viewport might work a little bit slower, especially if you were to duplicate this. But you can see that our mesh has come in. We've got our detail in there. Okay, and it looks pretty good. Looking at that, you can go ahead and duplicate it if you like to get the other side, but I'm going to go ahead and leave it just the way it is because I don't necessarily need two high poly pieces here for the handle. It's just not absolutely necessary just yet. Okay. Now at this point you could, if you really wanted to, like export out your high poly mesh for the frame, for your other objects and things like that. But at this point I would actually start doing a little bit of cleanup because I'm actually ready to start creating the game mesh or the low resolution mesh to start baking. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unfreeze all. I'm actually going to get rid of the reference images. I don't need those any longer. Those can actually get in the way after a while, especially once we start getting the low resolution mesh and baking it out. I have everything that I need here. Now at this point what I'll do is I'll actually go ahead and select all of these objects, and I have this isoline display turned on all the objects. I'm going to turn that off because you don't want that on, especially if you collapse the Turbo Smooth down into the object. If you have that turned on, that's going to break your mesh. And just to kind of give you an idea of what that looks like, with that isoline display turned on, if you right click and convert it to editable poly, it looks like it stayed smooth, but then you start getting all of these weird bits of shading. This is a common mistake. In my personal opinion, I wish that was something that could be changed, but again, turn off isoline display, then collapse it or convert it to editable poly, and there you go. Okay, I'm going to do that to all of these objects. Okay, so just convert down. If you're uncomfortable with converting it down, if you're fairly certain you're not ready for that, you go ahead and just leave that Turbo Smooth modifier on there. But I know that I'm ready for that, so I'm just getting all of this cleaned up. Make sure that you have your objects renamed. So I'm going to call this HP_cylinder. Okay. And just kind of give you an idea of what I'm doing. I'm going to prefix all of these with HP and then give it a name, so that way we know exactly what it is. Okay, I'm going to wait on the renaming. I'll let you do that on your own. And then we'll come in and we'll just continue. Now, on these objects that are instanced, go ahead and leave them instanced, because then you'll want to go ahead and turn off isoline display, and then you can convert them down on their own by right-clicking, converting them to editable poly. And by doing that, it's going to no longer make it an instance. So I do all my changes here first before I convert it, and then we do that. Okay. So just continue on selecting everything, turning off that isoline display, and then go through and convert it to editable poly. Okay. Make sure you get everything. Do a quick double check on all of that, and then you'll be ready to go. All right, I think I've got everything, at least on this side. I know we've missed one down here. That's good. That's good. Okay, great. So then everything on this side should be good as well. All right, so now that we're ready to go, let's check this one piece up here really quickly. Now that we're ready to go, we can go ahead and convert everything down to editable poly and get started on our next portion. And in that next portion, what we're going to do is we're going to take the high poly mesh, we're going to break it apart, and this is what I call exploding. And exploding is just going to separate out the pieces, and it's going to allow me to work by creating my low resolution mesh a lot easier. I can see exactly what I need to create, and then it's also going to help with the baking, which we'll get into after we UV the low resolution mesh. So we'll get into that next.